we are again. It's January 6th, 2016, and we are continuing the interview with Don Enos, my grandfather, and we're talking about training, specifically flight training. We just talked a little bit about your pre-flight training in Nashville, which you completed in the fall of 43. And then, was it in October or November of 43 that you went on to Albany?
October.
October.
Yeah.
So in October of 43, you moved on to Albany, Georgia, where you went to primary flight school.
Mm-hmm.
So no more of the classroom training. You actually got to get in a real airplane and put that bird up in the sky. That had to be pretty exciting to...
Yeah, it was, you had the feeling that this is not going to be boring any longer.
So, what type of plane did they throw you in? What was the trainer plane that they used?
It was what they call a Stearman. The manufacturer was Stearman, S-T-E-A-R, man, and it was a PT-17. It was a designation, and they're still around there today.
Oh, really?
Sure, yeah.
Was it a single wing plane?
It was a double bi-wing, I guess you call it.
Open cockpit.
Open cockpit with a front seat was the they were interchangeable. The instructor could sit in one seat, and the students sat in the other seat, and they could communicate with what they call a Gosport, and that was just by talking into a tube, and the sound got back to the instructor or to the student and so on.
Any guns? They give you any guns to play with on the plane? They
No.
mount any guns on it?
No.
No, they just focused on taking off.
That came later.
They just wanted to focus on taking off and landing first.
Yeah, right. Yeah, teach you how to fly the airplane, how to land the airplane, how to take off the airplane. That was, and then everything from after that was an extension of those functions. So yeah.
So I can't imagine that they let you take it up by yourself the first time. They paired you up with an instructor. How long was it, before you went up by yourself in the plane?
Well, I think I flown at approximately 13, 14 hours, something like that. That's dual instruction.
Was there a minimum? Was it a...
No, there was no required. I would say that if you got up around, I would say over 15, 20 hours, why, at that point, the instructor would make a decision. He'd say, you're going to have to become part of the program other than being a pilot. In other words, they call that, you'd get a pink slip.
Gotcha.
And it may have been where the expression originated.
Came from?
Yeah.
But you didn't get that. You were...
No, I managed to work around it. Yeah.
So that had to be another major step in your training process.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It either stopped there or continued.
Did you feel like you were...
I thought it was an accomplishment, yes, and I was relieved and all that sort of thing.
Did you feel like you were, this is long overdue, you've been ready for 10 hours, or did you feel like, oh, here we go, let's see what happens?
No, as I recall, I was surprised when the instructor, there was a little time where the instructor, when he was ready to allow you to solo, what he would do is you'd taxi the airplane over to the wind tee, and he would get out, and he would then get out of the plane and go over and sit on the wind tee, and it was up to you to taxi the plane out and take it off and fly around half a dozen times or so, and then make half a dozen landings, we'll say, and then you go back, and he walked back, and he got in the airplane, and that was the end of the lesson for the day. Yeah.
So if he thought you were ready, then you were ready?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you were. My reaction was, if he thinks I'm ready, I'm willing to try it.
So.
And I did.
That's a pretty major step, just getting up in a plane,
Yeah.
you know, for the first time, and then
Right.
getting up in a plane by yourself.
Yeah.
There's just not too many people in the world that
Oh, that's quite
get to do that.
Yeah.
So after Albany, you completed successfully primary flight school. Got up in a plane by yourself, landed successfully in this training biplane. You were then moved to Greenwood, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when approximately you arrived to Greenwood?
Let's see, October, it would be December.
December
Yeah.
1943?
Yeah.
And I recall you telling me that as you were coming in, the train got to Greenwood, some of the other students were still there who had just completed whatever this section of training that was going on in Greenwood,
Right.
basic flight training.
Mm-hmm.
So they were kind of there to tell you about what basic flight training was like.
Well, there was kind of a period of maybe 45 minutes where one group was getting off of the train, and to start their training, and then there was a group that had completed their training, and they were getting on the train to go to the advanced base, and so the major question was getting some information from the group that had an exchange of information between the two groups, and the question was what is it like to fly the basic trainer, you know.
The basic trainer is different from the primary flight trainer.
Oh, absolutely, it's different design.
The primary flight trainer was open cockpit,
Right.
bio-wing.
Right.
What was the basic trainer like?
The basic trainer had a closed cockpit, but it had a group of sliding window or glass enclosed units that made it, it changed it from an open cockpit to a closed cockpit.
And
And it was all
single wing, one wing, fixed wing?
lower, one single lower wing, yeah.
So, and I imagine it wasn't that advanced of a plane either if it was
No, it
still a
was,
trainer.
but it was an advance, a significant increase in horsepower. That's the big one.
How many horsepower did they give you in the bio-wing?
The Stearman had I'm just guess or figure, but I'd say around 400 horsepower. Yeah.
And
and then the advanced, or not advanced, but the basic trainer was probably around 800 horsepower. And then the advanced trainer was probably close to 1,000 horsepower. Yeah.
Then the primary flight, the bi-wing, the steerman, was it kind of like the biplane? Was it this canvas or vinyl covering on the wings, or was it all metal?
It was probably not totally metal, but it was most of your flight, like your ailerons, your rudder, and so on. Most of those were more or less canvas covered, but the rest of the airplane was metal. Whereas the primary trainer was probably almost 100% canvas covered.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, what do the guys tell you about what it was like to fly this new
Yeah.
primary flight plane?
Yeah, the question, like I said before, was what is it like? And the answer was it's like driving a Packard off a cliff. You like that?
So pretty tough. Much tough.
Descriptive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Descriptive, you know.
Sounds like it took more strength to muscle the plane around.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, you had to be a little more.
You mentioned that at Albany, the Albany Flight School was run by civilians. Was the Greenwood, Mississippi basic? No.
No, totally run and administrated and by the Air Corps itself. Yeah.
That's interesting how a lot of people, I think, realize how civilians got involved in the war effort via the factories and other things, but I don't know if they realized how the military had, how they had gotten involved in the military, well, how the military had used them as well. For example, in this flight school, in primary flight school.
Yeah.
And even at Clemson with Frank Howard.
It saved the taxpayers a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, we will pause there, and in the next video we'll continue on a little bit more with...
Well, the one point that, if I could just... there was a second question that exchange of information.
Follow up to the Packard question?
Yeah. That was... they would like to know if there were any girls' telephone numbers that they could pass on that might be interesting.
Is this where the girls...
interested in meeting us.
Gotcha. So the girls, it was pretty certain you were going to be a pilot. So
I
girls...
didn't, all I'm doing is relaying the...
Yeah, right. Sure thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll pause there.
Yeah.
And we'll pick up with some more on Greenwood
in
the next session.
Right. Right.